ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for attending our meeting this evening. On this beautiful day in Blowing Rock, November 14th, 2023. Call to order. Albert Young.
Present.
Melissa Pickett.
Here.
David Harwood.
Here.
Doug Matheson. Here. Pete Green. Here. Okay, all are in attendance. You would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All righty. All right. Council, I'm looking for approval of minutes from October 10th, 2023, regular and closed session. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion, any changes? All right, Albert, David,
Aye.
Melissa,
Aye.
Doug, and Pete.
Aye.
All right. Regular agenda adoption. You made mention to something, Kevin?
Yeah, I'd like a couple things. I'd like to move around a little bit if it'd be okay for council to consider. Item 3 under special recognition, I believe Doug wanted to address that during his time at the end of the meeting. And then during the public hearing section, we'd like to switch 1 and 2, Blowing Rock Lodge rezoning and Blowing Rock Lodge annexation. So the annexation consideration would be first in line.
Say the first one again,
In town employee recognition for police, Doug would like to move that to his comments at the end of the meeting. It's in special recognition.
Oh, okay.
Right here.
That's all I have.
All righty, with those requested changes, do I have a motion to approve the regular agenda?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any other changes to the regular agenda or discussion? Albert? David?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
Doug?
Aye.
And Pete?
Aye.
Okay. Consent agenda. Budget amendment 2023-16, tax release 2023-02, 2023-03, 2023-04, and the gifts donation policy in the general handbook as stated in the town policy. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, no discussion can be on consent. So Albert? David?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
Doug? Aye. And Pete?
Aye.
Okay. Moving right along, special recognition. You know, there's not been many people that have done anything for 40 years. And, you know, it says a lot that someone can do something for 40 years and stay resilient and still be beneficial to the job and transparent. Alan Mosley has served this town for 40 years. He started when he was 10. Well, I and the council and past mayors would like to say thank you to Mr. Mosley for all the time that he put in. And we have a little award for you there, Alan, if you'd like to come up. It is imitation gold shrimp. But thank you. Thank you for everything.
We'll let, our new town attorney is Tucker Deal. Tucker will
Suspend the
gavel
rules.
you, Alan, if you.
Suspend the rules.
So, I guess I didn't realize that I was gonna feel so nostalgic and so emotional about coming here. So, we moved here, or Cindy was still in Knoxville. I moved here in September of '83. The only person I knew was Charlie Clement, my good friend, who hired me. First day, I came into the office and he called me in there and he had a whole stack of files, which was frightening, and said, here they are. And we came to the last file and it was Town of Blowing Rock, General Matters. He said, I want you to go to Blowing Rock and represent the town. I'm tired of them and I know they're tired of me. And so with that, I said, well, I have two questions. First one is, how do I get to Blowing Rock? Second one was, how do I represent the town of Blowing Rock? And he said, well, you're just gonna have to learn on the fly. And so I got my car after I got my directions and I drove to Town Hall, which didn't, by the way, look like it does today. And I walked in Town Hall and there was Judy Burns, first person I met, who became my good friend and my client for many years. And up the street came Mayor Hayden Pitts. He was the second person I met. And we sat there in that area out there, which is totally different today from what it looked like then. And they knew I was nervous. And they could probably tell that I pretty much didn't know anything. And Hayden said, in the kindest way, he said, don't worry. If you have any problems, if you have any questions, we'll help you. Just call us. And so it began. Those 40 years ago. And I've had tremendous experience doing this work. Sometimes over the years, people have asked me, why do you keep doing that? Why do you want to keep representing the town of Blowing Rock? I didn't always have a perfect answer to that question, but the answer that I can articulate to you right now is it was really significant to me to be a part of such a special place as this town. And I would like to think that I, in some small way, contributed to helping to make this a special place. What makes it a special place? It's the people. It's you guys. It's all of the folks that have contributed to this town, volunteers, people that just care enough to show up and to participate in the governance of this town. Probably the relationships that I've enjoyed the most over the years have been with the staff. Incredible people, good people. All the managers. When I got here, we didn't have a manager. We never had a manager. So I worked with all the managers over these 40 years. This guy here, he was a young man 23 years ago when he came here. People like Hillary, just fantastic people. And I'll miss that probably the most. I appreciate you folks I'm leaving this place with a really good town council and have the utmost respect for you. So with that, it's been an honor and a privilege for these 40 years to be a part of this and to represent the town. Thank you.
I know, we'll have to shake.
And by the way, I forgot to mention this, but you're gonna be very happy with this guy right here. He's gonna do a great job. And I also forgot to mention, I'm just retiring from this. I'm not retiring from the practice of law. I'm gonna be around. I'll help Tucker in any way I can. I'll help you guys in any way I can.
Thank you.
Just so you know that. I know you knew that already.
Do you think you'll,
His office is next door. That's right.
Tucker, does this mean you're here for 40 years?
Let's talk about that later.
Only 479 more meetings.
All right. Thank you, Alan. Thank you so much. All right. We have a town employee recognition. And this was something really unique. This took place, a couple of months ago. And it came from Jane Arrington. And they live on Mockingbird. And her 2.5-year-old grandson, who lives part-time in Boone and comes over here to visit, is just enthralled with garbage trucks. And so at each time the garbage truck would come by the house, the grandson would have to run out and see the garbage truck. Not police cars, not a fire truck, garbage truck. Well, over the course of many weeks, him visiting our really hard-working town employees on their big white vehicle, they came by and the gentleman on the truck gave him a garbage truck. A little model garbage truck. And I believe it was JT and Chris, is that who was on the truck?
I think so. Tim was driving.
Yeah, Tim was driving. And guys, my hat's off to you. Little things like that mean a lot. And that's something that child will always remember and be thinking of you guys. Of course, you know what? I will say this, ladies and gentlemen. I learned some time back to get promoted in the town of Blowing Rock, you start on the garbage truck. And with exception of council, but we'd have to be voted in.
But I started on the garbage truck,
Did you really? I'll be darned.
1972.
Yeah. But, you know, my hat's off to all of our town employees. The jobs you guys do and gals do, you're fabulous. But I didn't know if you all saw this. Did you see a copy of it? Thank you so much. That made that little guy's day. So, thank goodness they didn't give him one of the big ones, though. We need those, don't we?
No, we did.
Did you? Well, thank you so much.
Thank you,
And,
guys.
Thanks for all your efforts. All right, and then on the town employee, what Doug's gonna you'll bring up later. And then we have a service weapon, Police Chief Aaron Miller.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. This is more of a request tonight than a recognition. We'd set a precedent several years back that when employees retire from the police department, with however many years of service they have here with the town, that we present them with their service weapon upon retirement. So Lieutenant Dan White, he retired in 2019 in March. So we probably should have brought this request in 2019, but Dan continued on with us as an active reserve, so we really didn't think about him as having been retired. We did have a retirement party for him and that sort of thing, but he continued on. But he's moving into more of an inactive reserve role now, so we felt like it was appropriate to request from the council that they release his service weapon, declare that weapon surplus, so that it can be presented to Lieutenant White. And that's what the request is about.
Do I have a motion to approve this request?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on this request?
Thank you so much.
We're not giving him any bullets, are we?
No bullets.
Okay. Albert, you vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Doug?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, now we're at the public comment section. Keep in mind, request that you keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. And we'd like to, in most cases, try to have it worked into the meeting this evening, but sometimes we do let it veer off a little bit to other issues. So if you would like to speak, your 3 minutes. Hillary, do you have any names? No? You can give Hillary your name. Okay. Wow. Okay. Sounds good.
I have a question. Excuse me, Charlie.
Yes, sir.
If we have a case and we're gonna get up to speak or be available for questions, to answer questions.
Is this part of the public hearing?
So well, it's the.
Yes, coming up. That's not part of this, Mike.
Okay.
You'll have opportunity.
Okay, sorry.
Not a problem.
I know sometimes you swear in and I didn't want to.
No, we won't.
No, that's quasi judicial. Where it's sworn in. Okay, so you're fine.
Thank you.
All righty. Okay, now we're at the public hearing section. The Blowing Rock Lodge annexation. Mr. Rothrock.
Well, I'm gonna take a back seat, let Brian do his presentation. As we mentioned, the annexation request will be first, and then we'll entertain the request for rezoning. So, Brian? Don't need to. No one needs to.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Got quite a few things on the agenda tonight, so you stuck with me for a little while. First on the agenda tonight is a request and a petition for voluntary satellite annexation. Subject property tonight we're considering is a 3.38 acre property currently in the ETJ. Currently zoned general business. It's known currently as the Blowing Rock Lodge. As you head to Boone on the left. So the property is currently zoned general business. First up tonight is the annexation for approval. Part of this approval is for consideration, the lodge and the owners, which we have both the owners here tonight, John White and David Kennedy, have requested the annexation for the purposes of connecting the utilities. The lodge is at a point their sewer septic system is declining and failing. That's one of the main reasons, but they are also requesting to receive water service as well. A little bit of history is, sewer is available beside the property. There's a pump station there that they can connect to and be provided that service. Water service has been not available in that area, even though there's been a water line. Part of this process is has been contingent on the Town of Boone and Town of Boiling Rock agreement. So that has been adopted, and there's an agreement in place for connections now. So part of that process also in the agreement was if the property annexes, they have to seek conditional rezoning as well, which is the next item. If we approve the annexation, the conditional rezoning will be up for consideration as well. A little bit of history. Kevin has the property pulled up here. Zone general business. It does consist of a main lodge, and there's also 2 dwelling units on the property as well. My understanding at this point, the 2 dwelling units are on their own wells and their own septic systems, and they're adequate at this time. So the applicant is requested to leave those as is until the time comes that they may need the services there. And that is listed out in our proposed ordinance that's in your staff report. The applicants they have no future plans to redevelop the property at this point. So the property is as is. We take it as is into the town, and based on just needing water and sewer at this time. We do have some other conditions that we'll look at if we approve the annex in the conditional rezoning that we will discuss and have for consideration as well. All the requirements for satellite annexation have been met. So there's no issues there. I'll leave it up to any questions. Applicant, they also have their engineer that did the site plan and zone retainer with them, if there's any questions of that as well.
Council, this public hearing is open, so you can ask questions of the applicants or Brian. Pete?
Brian, do you have an estimate of what the total cost for sewer, water, and all the hookups will be?
I do not. I mean, that'll be, if this is approved tonight, I mean, it is the applicant's responsibility to provide that at their own expense. But I don't have the cost. You know, when the approvals come through, the applicant will have to submit plans for the water and sewer engineer plans for that, for our approval in Public Works, and they'll be reviewed by the town engineer.
So that approval will come back to the planning department, planning board?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Council wish to close the hearing?
Has the conditional zoning come before planning board?
They both have, and I failed to say, both went to the planning board. They had no issues with annexation for the conditional rezone.
Thank you.
So we have contractual agreements now with Boone. They're not gonna come in here in the last minute and query this deal.
No, I'll sign that. this time.
Okay.
This is consistent with that agreement,
Yes.
the process they're going through.
Good.
All right,
Make a motion to close the hearing.
Okay, I have a motion to close the hearing. Do I have a second? Any additional discussion? Okay, all in favor of closing the hearing? Say aye.
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 All right. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Any discussion or any questions for Brian? Okay, Albert? David?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
Doug? All right, Pete, okay. So the annexation is approved. Now we're moving on to the Blowing Rock Lodge rezoning. Brian?
As I mentioned before, the second part of this is to, and this is part of the agreement that was put in place with Boone, was to require the property to be, to have conditional zoning approved specifically to that property. As I said before, it's general business now, it is in the ETJ. The rezoning will classify it as a conditional zoning general business district, specific to that property. The property is currently long-term rentals. Applicants may can speak to this a little more than I can, but my understanding is there's long-term rentals, there's workforce, folks living there. So we take it in as it's classified as a long-term rental use. There is the two dwelling units. That's part of the property as well. If this is approved tonight for the conditional rezoning, anything that's proposed in the future, redevelopment, any new uses, would go back through this process for planning board and council for consideration of those. Just a little history of what is on the property. The main lodge is 7,200 plus square feet. It contains 22 apartments, long-term rental, 1,200 square foot detached dwelling unit, and 377 square foot dwelling unit, which is these two down here currently exist. The owners have put some time and effort improving the property recently. There is some conditions that staff has recommended in the the staff report, that would help relieve some of the nonconformities coming in as we take the property in. Those are fairly minor things as far as landscaping, garbage, signage, some of those things that I think the applicant has agreed to accept as a condition if the council wishes. The applicant has requested, one of the small minor things was garbage collection. We'll be providing that service. There currently is not a garbage or dumpster area on site. The explanation for that and the request is they require their tenants, since the garbage area down 321 had a blank there. Since it's so close, they require their tenants to take trash down there. So they reserve the right to continue to do that for about a year, let staff assess and see if there's any problems. And if there is, I think they're willing to comply with any current dumpster or trash receptacle areas there. Some of the other small things is bringing some of the signage into compliance, and small landscape requirements as well. I think think that's about all I can think. If there's any questions, I'm glad to answer.
Once again, this public hearing is open, council, so you can ask questions of Brian or the applicants.
Couple, Brian. So right now, they're gonna use the Aho dumpster site then,
Yes.
till eventually they will build or probably either a rollout or a dumpster site down there.
Correct. Their explanation to us was they had a lot of neighborhood folks dumping in their trash, which is common. I mean, that's a monitoring issue that they would have to deal with. But they've had no issues with trash after the fact, and everyone there, they used that site since it's so close, they've had no issues with it.
My other question is, this is being taken in long-term, then if anything was wanted to go in there short-term, it would have to go back to the planning board and through us, correct?
No, it is zoned for short-term rental there.
Okay.
We can do that from a zoning standpoint, but there is an application process for that.
Pete?
Brian, how many of the units are occupied now, and is there an estimate on water usage?
I don't have that. There'll probably be questions for the owner. And Mike, I don't know if Mike's got that far to assess the water and sewage usage yet. Maybe Mike can answer that.
Yeah.
Would you like, Mike, would you step up, please? Thank you.
I don't know that we've computed a total yet, but are they one unit? So if we've got 22, generally speaking, the North Carolina discharge rates are 125 gallons or 120 gallons per bedroom. So if we took that times the 22, what would we get? 4,000 and some change gallons per day. And that'd be the same for the sewerage. They use the monitor the water to monitor the sewerage.
Do you have any other questions for Mike while he's up?
Well, Mike, since you're probably familiar with the site, I'll ask you, how many parking spaces are currently provided?
32, I believe. 32 at the main building, and then each of the two small chalets have roughly 2 spaces as well, so 36 total.
If I'm doing my math right, they, for the hotel, I guess would be 22. If there's 22 rooms, there'd be 22 required, right? Okay, so there, we've got 10 surplus, regardless if it's short-term or long-term rental. We've got plenty of parking. Okay.
Is this a gravity sewer situation, Mike?
It will be. We'll gravity. I believe there's a pointer. What we'll do is we'll pick up, currently their existing septic system is failing, is why they're asking to hook on. We'll catch it right here and then run a gravity line down all the way to here and intercept the town system. So it won't have to be pumped. We've got enough fall to let it gravity down there.
Good, thank you.
And then I believe the water comes along old 321 and we'll tie into it there and put our meter and come into the unit here for the water connection.
Are the houses getting connected water-wise?
If I understood Brian, and that they're not going to be connected at this time, that they're both on a separate well and a separate septic system, and they're performing adequately at this time.
They'd have the option.
They are requesting the option to tie them on in the future if they have any problems with either the water or their sewer.
So you're going to do 1 meter for the whole complex?
Just one meter.
Council?
I have a question of Brian.
Okay.
Why are we delaying up to 12 months to assess dumpsters signage?
No, if you see in the conditions, the garbage is the only thing that's been requested to be assessed within a year. If staff sees issues, we'll monitor that and then we'll require compliance if it is an issue. The other conditions, landscaping and the small things, signage, those things, the applicant and they can come agree if they need to. They've agreed to go ahead and we can work with them to do that immediately.
So that would happen
After-
as soon as possible?
Yes.
Or feasible in terms of landscaping?
Correct. So that would eliminate some nonconformities coming in. They've agreed to do that.
Okay, thanks.
I mean, I have no problem with assessing the garbage through the process and making sure it's working right. No problems.
So the sewer bill will run off what that 1 meter is then?
Right.
Council? Close public hearing?
I mean, I hope I didn't hear, I don't know if I heard Mike wrong. The request is for water and sewer on the lodge now, correct? Correct, yeah. It's just that the two small dwelling units is the ones that are asking for the option at the time of need.
So he will still, is gonna be using the well, correct?
Right.
Well, the house,
And will
For the
pay a
house.
minimum on,
just for the houses.
right,
The lodge will be connected to the water.
okay.
And that's his option. Is that in the language of
It's
this?
in the ordinance for approval tonight. The well that currently serves the lodge, my understanding is it serves another house or two across the road. So it's probably a better situation for them to be took off of that well.
Okay, make a motion.
Motion to close.
Second?
Second.
Any further discussion before we close? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second?
Do we have any additional discussion?
And that's with all what the recommendations that's been asked for in this, correct?
Okay. Albert? David?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
Doug? Aye. And Pete?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome to the town of Bowling Rock.
Thank you.
We've got the best water in the state. Yeah,
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
There's not enough of it. so.
that's right.
Thank you, Brian.
Okay. All right. Wait, I guess this is Brian again. BRAC ordinance change. Is that up to you again, Brian?
Yes, sir.
You're earning your money. Right?
Absolutely. All right. Next item we have before us, it has previously been before you at, I think it was the September, probably September meeting. A little back history, mid-year retreat in June, council asked to look at reorganization of BRAC, do some clarification, possible additions of some things that was of concern. At that time, it was presented, I think there was some questions on a few things to go back to staff and rework some things, which we've tried to include those. One of them, we continue to call this BRAC, but one of those, which is the Blowing Rock Appearance Advisory Commission. It's still being called that now, but one of the things that was asked is to try to work a different name and include other responsibilities of the organization. Staff has amended the ordinance, as you see proposed tonight. The planning board discussed this at their September 21st meeting. They had no issues. The only thing they recommended was they threw a name change out there for your consideration, which is still up for consideration, but their thoughts was to change it to a Public Land Appearance and Recreation Board. As part of this reorganization was to encompass a recreation subcommittee, I think was out there, and to pull that responsibility in as well, and to try to clarify parks, public areas. Part of that's including Highway 321 landscaping areas, right-of-way areas, which is part of this as well. So their only recommendation was, and they threw out a possible name for your consideration. If we want to go to,
What do you call that for short? PLARB?
yeah, they played around with that too.
What is it called?
Public lands, which would encompass your parks, greenways, right-of-ways, your public building areas. So the thought was trying to encompass that as well. That's for consideration. I think, Blowing Rock Appearance Commission's still out there if anybody's.
So they're looking at changing the Public Land Appearance and Recreational Board.
That's 2 instead of break.
Correct.
Okay.
Now, we did go through the ordinance and clean up. There was a lot of different name changes as far as the BRAC itself. So we've tried to clear those up and leave it to a board, being named a board. On page number 2 of the text changes that's proposed. Also as well, this was presented at the last BRAC meeting. They were all in favor of the proposed changes that were here. They didn't have any requested changes. But one of the things that they had, staff was looking at was to change the membership, which was previously 5 members. So it was proposed to go back to 7. And I think the thoughts is it's always hard to get a quorum. I don't know if there's a magic number or not, but it was to maybe pull in a couple additional members for the recreation part of it that maybe has recreation experience. One thing that BRAC did say was they do have members that's going off now, and it's always an issue of keeping someone on when someone goes off, was to propose staggering the terms. That way you've got at least a set number typically. Typically you've got with 7, you'll have 2 that's staggered. We added in there that with the staggered terms, members can continue to serve until someone's appointed as well if they're willing to do so, instead of just leaving the board at that time. There was a sentence added to have 1 member with a background in recreation, coaching, or sports administration. If you go on to page 3 of the proposed ordinance, these paragraphs were added to help clarify the board's responsibilities as far as approving public art, murals, to also have a process in place for, as you kind of read in number, let's see, in number 9, for individuals, agencies, organizations, public and private, whose plans, activities, programs, fund and bears, and that will bear upon this board and their mission, is to have a process in place for approval of those as well. This will lead into BRAC having to, or whatever the name is, to doing some internal work to have a process in place, as far as maybe having a process and having an application process as well that will come before them to have a recommendation and obviously ultimately come before you guys. This also clarified number 12, that this board is responsible as acting as the tree board as well. I think that sums
So
up.
essentially, Brian, if I may counsel, what you're looking for this evening is the council's approval for modification of RAC. Do they want the name change considered as well tonight?
Correct.
Okay, so I'm gonna leave it up to council how my suggestion would be to either agree or disagree to the modification that they're requesting, okay? On the explanation of the ordinance to modify text in the land use ordinance, reorganizing the Blue Rock Appearance Advisory Commission. And then, if you wish for them to have a name change, then vote on that. What do you think? It's up to you.
Well, I think that that's covered.
Think so?
Yeah,
Okay.
it spells it out.
Okay.
Brian, was, Brian, remember is the one that was wanting to incorporate recreation into their fold? Because that really hasn't been a part of that board before so much.
It may have went back further. It was at the junior retreat. I think it was requested.
Okay.
I put together the first draft and captured some of those feelings from the retreat and then just kind of handed it over to Brian. And then he ran with it and met with Bragg. They considered a lot of different language, different concepts, and then went to planning board. So it stayed in at the time.
What was planning board's recommendation?
Just they just threw out the name change.
Okay.
And then they said, let them decide.
Yeah.
But they were fine with everything.
I was gonna say the name leaves a little bit to be desired, but it works.
They had a tough time as well. It's hard, I think, to encompass everything the board does into one name. But I think the goal is to try to figure out what BRAC is that a lot of people may have not have known at the time, or that they don't know.
I don't yet know.
Yeah. But I think a name aside, it's still listed out in their responsibilities there.
And they're gonna be the ones who will be coming up with the draft for the application process for the projects that happen on public property.
Correct.
Okay.
I think that's an internal process they need to have in place.
And then they'll bring it before
bring it
us for
forward to you.
approval, like they did with the art.
Yes.
Won't they take it to planning first?
No,
I don't
it
think
comes
we
directly
didn't,
to us.
they didn't do it before
Ideas.
planning for the art one.
Okay.
And vice versa, anything comes before council, I think it's, your prerogative to send to them for their input and come back.
All right.
I was gonna say, planning board could, being part of the art department or project, they could possibly play a role in this one because it'll be a little bit different, because it'll be different type projects. If they want it, if the council wanted them to weigh in on the application, it would be different type projects, but that would be
And
a
I think that's
council
open.
decision.
Yeah, I think that's open if you needed to.
What do you think, council?
I had two things. Under the annual report and budget section, this is more just, we've still got the word commission in there, which should be board. Let's change it from a commission to a board. So there's we just need to proof it, make sure we catch all those. And then under responsibilities and duties, number 8, It's 16-3.6.38. So it says to review proposed amendments and improvements to town parks, facilities, and so on. I really don't know. I think I know what improvements mean, but I don't want that to get confused with maintenance. So that, and I might be splitting hairs here, but what I don't want to happen is that our landscape department or our Parks and Rec department feels like they need to go to this board every time they want to fix something or improve something. So I don't know exactly what improvements mean. When we replaced the fixtures in the pool house, for instance, we had to replace all the hand dryers and things of that nature. That was an improvement, but not necessarily something that should have had to come before this board.
Right.
So I don't know how to make that distinction, but I think that distinction is important.
Isn't that covered further down though, when it says the board shall maintain a process to review and forward recommendations to the Board of Commissioners when a review is requested by the Board of Commissioners?
Maybe so.
So it's not saying that everything will come to them, just when we request it go to them.
That should cover it. Good point.
Just asking.
That's fine print.
No, that should cover it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Very good, David. You cleared that up really quick. Okay, what do
That's
you
all
think? What do you, yes, Al?
Well, as, this is no indictment of anybody that's ever served on BRAC or, why are we here?
Can you scoot back?
Why this?
My understanding is there's a lot of folks that may not have known the mission of BRAC. What does BRAC stand for? And I think part of that is also to have one cohesive board to come to have this discussion and put a process in place that'll help that board, it'll help you to know what's being proposed and what's out there. I think there's just a lot of folks maybe not knowing what BRAC is. That was part of the name change, was try to encompass all that, and that's a hard task to do, I think. But I think BRAC may need to, whatever name it is, that they need to stick to their mission and announce what their mission is. They get new members as they advertise for members. This is what we do. I think it's an internal thing that may need some improvement as well.
So a lot of times they can't get a quorum of 5 people, so they're gonna solve that by getting more people as members. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's what's being proposed.
This seems like all this is just an inflated view of somebody about being a committee or a board or something.
Like I said, there's no magic number for a quorum. It's hard to keep members on boards. You cycle through your community a lot of times with people that serve. They've done their time, they don't come back. Going to 9 was a real hard task, probably to keep 9 on board. 5 wasn't enough to keep a quorum there. And the 7, to add to 7, I mean, that part of that was to have someone that's got recreation experience as well to be pulled onto it. So I mean, that's something I don't know if there's a magic answer to, is keeping quorums on boards.
Well, my answer is I've got a core belief that less government is the best government, and I'm not voting for this, period.
I mean, it's council's wish to think of
I think it
5 or
runs
7.
head on into the planning board. I think the planning board is entirely capable of doing all this.
Council?
I understand your position, but I also think that our Parks and Rec, our parks could use some advocacy. And I'm hoping that this board will help with that. We've got a lot of deferred maintenance and things with our parks. And I'm hoping that through this process, that there will be an advocacy group for our parks and start to look at all those things that we need to fix. We're good at putting new shiny things in, but not necessarily taking care of what we have. And I think this will help.
Well, I disagree, and I think that somebody's advocated enough for getting a $2 million bathroom going up right here. So maybe they don't need any more advocacy.
Do keep in mind, if you do away with BRAC, they are the 501c3 organization that all the donations come through for the town, that the flowers come through.
That's true too.
And if it no longer exists, you will have to find another way to accept those donations.
That's easy.
So be it.
And BRAC, probably when it began years ago, was more of a volunteer club helping with local gardens and flower beds. And obviously as town grown, the board has a lot more responsibilities now.
Council?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the changes
Okay, Melissa made
as
a motion.
presented.
Do we have a second? Doug's made a second. Any additional discussion? Okay, Albert?
No.
Okay. David?
Yes.
Melissa?
Yes.
Doug? Yes. Pete?
Yes.
Yeah, be sure that they make those changes, referring to board in difference to commissioners.
Consistency.
Like David.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, dumpster
roll off the
ordinance update. Back to you, Brian.
Take a little bit to get used to.
Yeah, dumpster ordinance update. Now, is this strictly an update, Brian?
This is for action,
Okay.
or you have an ordinance in front of you, proposed ordinance for action for consideration.
Okay.
So for some time now, the planning department has had on the radar of trying to assess dumpster areas in town. There's a lot that's not known out there. There's a lot that's hid out there. We have had, wouldn't say numerous calls, but we have had some calls on obviously animals in dumpsters, what can be done. We've had some trash complaints with dumpsters. So the first step we wanted to do was to kind of see what was out there. Are these dumpsters in compliance? Do they have enclosures? Do they not? Some of them was probably possibly before an ordinance was in place to have them on a lot of commercial projects. So we surveyed over 100 sites, commercial, multifamily, all of them central business area, district. And the majority of them were in compliance. There's 25% plus or minus that are not. Some of those they don't have enclosures. Some of them need maintenance, which part of this we do have a maintenance section in the ordinance that we can approach to work with the property owners to bring them into compliance as far as maintenance and get them back in shape. The majority of them were in that category as needing maintenance. So what we had proposed and what's before you tonight is to do an amortization on allowing a year for these that don't have enclosures to come into compliance. Typically what you would require is a concrete pad and an enclosure to be built, something that's compatible with the structure. But the whole thought is to try to capture these, get them in compliance, less complaints, less problems with these. Obviously, animals and wildlife is a bigger issue now that people have talked about. So what we're proposing is to have a amortization within a year. We would reach out to the ones that we feel like need to be addressed and give them a year to come into compliance. So we would work with them and try to get them into compliance with what they need. The others that need maintenance, we can deal with that from an ordinance standpoint and work with them to get them maintained and back into compliance.
Council?
Did you see any, while you were out looking at these, that it would cause any type of undue hardship to expand the area to do an enclosure?
There will be probably some of those areas, yes. I think staff will have to work with them in the best situation, maybe smaller areas for rollouts. There is a lot of areas that actually consolidate and use multiple businesses will use one dumpster. So we could look at some things like that to get them into compliance. But there will be some properties we'll have to address that with, especially in some of the central business district here. But rollouts could be a solution. A lot of what we did see is where you have trash enclosure areas. I think it's evolved over time to where those haven't been adequate, and you see multiple rollouts added, and those are sitting out there now. So it could be a process also just to get it out there to them, and they can rethink what they actually need on the site to be effective and for their needs.
What if they just end up telling you, no, we're not gonna do that at all, period? What happens?
We have a compliance that you don't want to put someone in violation on trying to get someone to voluntarily come in. But the amortization, typically with amortization, you'll base a time frame on how involved the issue is you're trying to get in compliance. We feel like a dumpster enclosure is really not that big of a burden. If it is, we'll try to work with them and come up with the best solution.
What can you envision, you just tell them we're not picking their trash up anymore, and then what do they do with it? What do we do with it?
We'll pick the trash up. We're just trying to get them to contain it. I think that benefits the community as a whole for everybody. And then
If they operate outside the ordinance, civil penalties is always an option, but we're looking for compliance first. And this has been going on for a pretty long time, but every time a project comes forward, it gets, they make changes to a property or to the building. At least over the last 10 to 15 years, we've done a good job of bringing them into compliance from places that never had an enclosure, just a dumpster out in the parking lot. And over time, we've pulled these back into compliance. Woodlands for years had none. And when it changed ownership, we took that opportunity to bring them into compliance. So at least they have a screen and everything's not blowing in the winter down to neighboring properties. So it's taken time, but this was an attempt to say, look, there's a few others out there, and let's bring them in over the next year. So that's the purpose of the ordinance.
I wish you all the luck in the world.
Part of this will help, we'll get them, the folks picking it up, having a better area to pick it up. Maybe even a positive is it may free up some of our parking around town where the dumpsters are sitting now.
Well, that's a good point.
There you go.
That's a really good point.
But there is a lot of them just sitting in the parking areas now. But we'll have to work with them to find the best place to put them.
Your dumpster's exempt.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, no.
All right, council. Do we have a motion to approve this ordinance?
I'll move that we
Okay.
approve ordinance number 2023-18 as proposed.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Albert? David?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
Doug? Aye. Pete?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you, Brian.
All right, regular agenda. Appointment of Tricia Brown as finance director. Would you like to lead that one off?
Will, yes, sir. As you already know, we hired Tasha Brown as finance director on October 23rd. And to be consistent with North Carolina General Statutes 159-24, local government shall at all times have an appointed finance officer. Over the past few months, Misty Watson has served as our interim finance director on a contractual basis. Once we hired Tasha, the town council needs to officially appoint her as finance director to be consistent with the general statutes. And once that's done, Misty will still help us and assist us on a contractual basis over the next several months. Tasha was going to be here, but yesterday she got off a waiting list for a budgeting class at the School of Government, so I sent her down there for the next couple of days. So we'll do something a little bit more formal at the December meeting, but when Tasha gets back next week, she will take the oath of office to be consistent with Chapter 11 of the statutes. But I would ask you to go ahead and appoint Tasha as finance director tonight.
Council, I have spoken with Misty and a few others, and those individuals I've spoken with have been very favorable and very positive about this move, because I had concerns like many of us. And so I've had nothing but positive comments on Tasha, okay? And also from what I've heard from Tasha, she is very willing and wanting to learn more and to increase the certification. So that's just food for thought, okay? I have a motion.
I move to do it.
Do I have a second?
Second.
We're having discussion. Albert? David?
Yes.
Melissa?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Pete?
Yes.
Okay, very good. This is something that came up when I won as mayor in 2017. Memorial Park tree replacement. We called hell for that one, didn't we? Cut them all down up front. Now they're taller than I am. Not saying much, is it? All right. There's a couple more trees that need to be addressed in the park.
We've got two remaining maple trees that are in the center of Memorial Park, and these need to be replaced. So in consultation with Corey Cathcart and Brian Johnson, these two large maples need to be removed as they pose a safety risk for the general public. And we've already had some large limbs falling from these trees. Last year, they were lit for Christmas. Corey also recommends adding some drainage to those rock planters out in the park and those wells to assist in future planting and growth. The plan is to remove those trees with town crews, grind out the stumps and roots, add soil and drainage to lift the tree root ball and the planting level, bring it up, and then add 2 healthy maple trees that Corey's already picked out. They'll be about 4 to 5 inch caliper, not too large that it would stunt their growth, but large enough that you have an immediate impact once they're planted. This overall plan was presented to BRAC for review and comment at their last meeting. They were in support of this to move forward with the replacement of the trees. If council approves this, it's anticipated to have those trees removed maybe by Thursday. And then originally we want to have them planted back before Thanksgiving. We've just got too many things going, but we would plant them right after Thanksgiving and move that way. In front of you, it was not in packet online, but in front of you is the trees, photos of those trees, the plan that Corey's come up with for removal and replacement. And Brian did a risk assessment and the summary of those trees, and that was included for your review. Any questions? Corey and Brian here are here as well to.
Yes, sir.
Council, thoughts?
I have more of a statement. If you want to see something amazing, go out there and watch Sterling climb a tree. He's like a gray squirrel going up a tree. It's amazing.
For those that you don't know, Sterling is part of our Public Works Department.
No, I see here on number 2 that he's gonna do that, so it's an art form.
Good. I've been waiting on him for 2 years.
We'll send him over.
Well, I wonder why that is.
Is he gonna build something around your dumpster?
Yeah, Brack's gonna approve it.
Do I have a motion, council?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any additional discussion? Albert? David?
Yes.
Felicity?
Aye.
Doug?
Last time I voted for this, they was gonna ride me out of town on a rail, but I'll try it again. Yeah.
Pete?
Yes.
All right.
Thanks, Corey.
And just put everybody at ease, yes, back in 2017, some of us were on council, I was mayor, and we had one of our first meetings, we had to vote to remove the trees in front of the park. My mother was still living then, and she threatened to kill me. But, you know, people understood the trees were, just had reached a point where they were unsafe. So, my thanks to our Corey and the rest of them for taking care of this and Public Works. So, moving right along, looks like we're at official reports and comments. I'll lead it off if I may, Alan.
You may.
Okay. You know, I'm glad this election is over. One thing I'll have to say, all 4 candidates that were running for council could sit up in these chairs and do as good a job as any of us. I hope in the future, though, that in our small town, the election does not entail personalities, that it delves into the ability of people to love the town, keep the town quaint, and work for the citizens. And I hope in the future, that's what will take place, because I am not a proponent of negativity. I'm a proponent of doing what is right for all of our citizens in our town. I do thank all those people that did run and the time they put into it. So thank you for those that did not win, and thank you for those that did. Albert.
Well, tonight proves democracy still works. This will be my last vote ever.
We'll think of something next, we'll think of something in
Tonight,
December,
But
okay?
it still works. I voted no, and everybody else voted yes. Has anybody seen Pinocchio tonight?
I want to welcome Tucker. Thank you so much for joining us. I look forward to working with you. Also want to thank Tasha Brown for accepting the position. I think she's I love to see internal growth, and so I'm really happy about that. As Albert mentioned, this is his last full meeting, and I know that he will scoot out as quickly as he can next month.
I'm not a believer in accolades.
Well, I'm not going to give them to you.
Do you have a picture of a dumpster for him?
I'm not going to say a lot, but I do want to say Albert has done nothing but serve his community and his country. And this is his 16th year on this as a commissioner, and that's really something special. You've left it better than you found it. And I've known Albert 24 years. He's like me about 22 years. It took him about 2 years to warm up to me. And we were next door neighbors. And so all I'm going to say is, as a Navy man, not me, but you, fair winds and following seas.
Anchors away.
Citizens, if I may say, Albert will be here for a short time.
Well, let me just say quickly, I met David when it was discovered that another gentleman who he bought the house from convinced me to build a trash can enclosure on what the other man said was my property, and it ended up being David's property.
I was going to leave that story out.
So is this the dumpster thing?
And my
Albert's first, yeah, go ahead.
My first words to David were, "We're both grown-up men, let's talk about this."
That's true.
Melissa.
Well, Albert, you have served with all three members of my family on this council. We don't always see eye to eye, but we have always been friends, and you will be sorely missed. And go Navy. It runs in both of our bloods.
And I particularly miss your daddy-in-law.
Miss him every day.
I really do. Quality person.
He was.
Doug.
Well, he's not gone yet, so I won't talk about him. I was wanting to thank Officer Gunnels and Officer Hayes for their duty during the Monster March. We had a lady fall off a curb right in front of Killwinds, and I was over there, and I had her propped up and was holding her, and both those guys was there, and both of them stayed and helped during the whole time until the ambulance got there. Kathy Williamson was great about coming out with Killwinds, from coming out and bringing those ice to ice down the lady's hip and arm that was hurting, and then she had grandchildren with her, and Kathy took them in and offered them free ice cream. Was very good about that. But Officer Gunnels and Officer Hayes stayed there, like I said, and was very, very helpful and everything. And the lady wanted to thank them, but she was just up here, just for the weekend and was gone. So I promised her that I would recognize them at our next meeting.
Doug, it goes back to saying we've got some of the best employees of any town in our state or country. We do. Pete.
Couple things. First, congratulations, David. Nice to have you back.
Thank you.
And Kat, welcome to the team. Look forward to seeing you in January. I think we all know that cell service in this town sucks. And I'm not sure in terms of dealing with the companies what we can do, but maybe our media friends can get residents to call their local providers and start complaining. Because if they get enough complaints, I believe that they will start to listen. And it's getting to a point where, if you think about it, if you have to make a call to EMS for an ambulance and you can't get through on the cell phone, that's a problem. And so I know that the town is dealing, I've talked to Kevin and Matt on the local interior calls to the police, the fire and everything, and that is, I think that's a great thing. And is Matt still here?
I think so.
Matt? Hey, just following up on our conversation earlier, would you just kind of give a brief synopsis of what we talked about, what you're doing, so everybody understands
Matt,
what's
would you
going
do me a
on?
favor? Would you step up here so, it'll be for the record, so we can all look back at the minutes and remember.
Absolutely. So up on our water tank at Green Hill, we have a communications building. I say building, it is literally a small wooden hut that looks like it could be pushed over by the wind at any point. So we're in the process of upgrading that building to a prefab concrete building. Right now the slab's poured. We're waiting on delivery of the building, which should be probably, hopefully sometime this month. We're not real sure right now. It's still listed as in process, so it'll be delivered. The building will go in, all the radio equipment, the repeaters for, it's for the fire department, police department, public works will be moved into that building and upgraded. There's also a plan to set a new, currently right now, there's 2 wooden poles up there that hold our radio antennas. So we're looking at putting 1 monopole there and consolidating all that on 1 pole. So all that'll be upgraded and new. Should help with communications for fire and police and public works too. But right now we're kind of in the middle of it. So that's what's going on up there. So hopefully it'll wrap up in the next month or so. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. That's it.
Good. Mr. Bell.
My first official report, not much to say.
Okay, thank you very much.
I appreciate y'all having me here and engaging me in this work, and it's can be a daunting task in any case, but to take over for someone who's been sitting in this seat for 40 years is maybe a bit more of a daunting case than normal. But I do have Alan work in the law office with him, so hopefully I'll have him to rely on going forward. But I hope I can, in some way, build just some of the relationships he's built here over time. And I grew up here, so I've appreciated Blowing Rock for a long time, and look forward to serving y'all going forward. So, thank you.
Welcome. Thank you. Thank you for taking this on. Albert, you have another.
Robert's rule says it's the mayor's duty to maintain the correct time in this building.
I defer to the mayor pro tem to handle that.
Getting right on it, Al.
We'll get you a ladder, Doug.
I'll need one.
Big sidebars.
Kevin Rothrock.
Quick update from Jennifer, if she would, for festivities for next week for
Good
Thanksgiving.
evening, Jennifer. Thanks for sticking around.
Yes. Okay, so next Friday, November the 24th, we will have our Christmas in the Park Lighting of the Town event. 12 o'clock, we will have Santa in the park till 3 o'clock. We will have games for the children in the park. We will have bands, and then the lighting of the town will happen somewhere around 5:30-ish. And we're gonna say a prayer for the big tree lights the first time. No. If it doesn't, it would really break tradition if it does, so I mean, I guess. And then Saturday morning on November 25th, we will have our Christmas parade at 10 a.m. And we do plan on running a shuttle from Tanger Outlets to downtown Blowing Rock on Friday and at least part of the day on Saturday.
Any questions for Jennifer?
No, thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thanks for all your hard work and staff.
And Jared Wright with McGill is going to give us a few updates on project in town.
Jared, how are you?
Good, sir. How are you?
Jared.
Thanks for sticking around.
Good evening, council. Our current ongoing construction projects, just wanted to provide a quick update on each of those. Our restroom project for Memorial Park is moving right along. As you can see, the contractor is getting close to completing the exterior improvements. And that was the goal all along, to take advantage of this beautiful weather we've had over the last several months, do the exterior work, and then over the winter, focus on the inside. And that's exactly what's happened, and that project is on schedule. Switching gears to Main Street Water and Sewer, also contractors making great progress. They have laid approximately 3,000 linear feet of water pipe from the south end of Main up to approximately Laurel Park Drive now. So they're approaching this downtown area where we expected them to be at this time, mid-November, December. So that project is on schedule too. Also, the sidewalk portion of that project that we originally scheduled to do in the spring of 2024 has been completed. We do have to do a final walkthrough on the sidewalk, but as you can see, the project's done. We accelerated that to accommodate some private investment, private development in that area. And I think those two projects have moved along nicely together, and it's really buttoned up that end of town. Any questions?
Thank you, sir.
You're very welcome.
You asked about lighting of the town, so we replaced the sidewalk in front of Town Hall, in front of planning and inspections last week. At the same time, we ran some new conduit for lighting for all the landscape beds out front. The lights work on a timer. The timer's in that back corner, and they actually work. After next week, I don't know what's gonna happen. I hope they'll light and you can hit the switch, but as of this week, they work. Town Hall bathrooms and office project is 99% complete. We need some handrails and paper towel dispensers put on the wall. And other than that part is complete. Jared mentioned the bathrooms out back. That's going well. And as they finish the outside, they're able to start cleaning up some of the construction area around that and start shrinking that down so we can get some more maneuverability in that back parking lot and around the other side in the park. As you know, Watauga and Caldwell are under burn bans with other western North Carolina counties. The town reservoir at the end of last week was down 3 feet below full pool. We'll continue to monitor that. The water that we had, the rain that we had, it was immeasurable. I don't know if it even moved at all, but we have less usage at the end of October. Our usage starts to go down, so that's good. But we certainly need rain in a big, big way. We will consider opening our temporary grass parking lot out on Valley Boulevard for next weekend to give some relief for parking because it's going to be in high demand.
Can we run a shuttle from there as well?
We can consider that. That's all I was going to present to you tonight, and with the other staff members, unless you have any questions of it.
Questions from Kevin?
No, he did bring up something and we would like to thank the fire department because they did go down to assist with the fire down at Powell. Right. And if you're listening to some of this, we were at the top helping protect structures from what I understand. So a big thank you for the great job that they did.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you. That's all I've got.
Albert, I look forward to you sitting next to me one more time.
I'm gonna have to think about reciprocating.
I'm gonna miss you. All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
This meeting is adjourned. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.